Unraveling the mystery. From his experiences breeding plants, Mendel knew that sometimes the patterns of inheritance seemed simple and sometimes they did not. Mendel wanted to find out why. Mendel was interested in the way traits are passed from parents to offspring. For example, sometimes a trait that appeared in one generation did not show up in any of the offspring in the next generation. In the third generation, though, the trait showed up again. Mendel noticed similar patterns in people, plants, and many other living things. To simplify his investigation, Mendel decided to study only one kind of organism. He had already done studies using the garden pea plant, so he chose this as his subject. How do you like your peas? Garden peas were a good choice for several reasons. These plants grow quickly, they are usually self-pollinating, and they come in many varieties. A self-pollinating plant contains both male and female reproductive structures, like the flower in Figure 2. Therefore, pollen from one flower or plant can fertilize the eggs of the same flower or the eggs of another flower on the same plant. Figure 3 illustrates the parts of a flower and how fertilization takes place in plants. Figure 2. This photograph of a flower shows the male and female reproductive structures. Figure 3. During pollination, pollen from the anthers, male, is transferred to the stigma, female. Fertilization occurs when a sperm from the pollen travels through the stigma and enters the egg in an ovule. Peas be my pardner. Mendel chose to study only one characteristic, such as plant height or pea color, at a time. That way he could understand the results. Mendel chose plants that had two forms for each of the characteristics he studied. For example, for the characteristic of plant height, one form always produced tall plants and the other form always produced short plants. Some of the characteristics investigated by Mendel are shown in Figure 4. The two different traits for each characteristic are also shown. True breeding plants. Mendel was very careful to choose plants that were true breeding for each of the traits he was studying. When a true breeding plant self-pollinates, it will always produce offspring with the same trait the parent plant has. For example, a tall true breeding plant will always produce offspring that are tall. Mendel decided to find out what would happen if he crossed two plants that had different forms of a single trait. To do this, he used a method known as cross-pollination. In cross-pollination, the anthers of one plant are removed so that the plant cannot self-pollinate. Then, pollen from another plant is used to fertilize the plant without anthers. This way, Mendel could select which pollen would fertilize which plant. This technique is illustrated in Figure 5. Figure 4. These are some of the plant characteristics that Mendel studied. Seed shape, plant height, flower color. Figure 5. Mendel removed the anthers from a plant that produced round seeds. Then he used pollen from a plant that produced wrinkled seeds to fertilize the plant that produced round seeds.